This is the wrong one.
Verkeerde video.
It may look like yoga. The sun salutation. Turn your face towards the sun. It's all in there. Yes, it's all in there.
And it starts with getting it in here.
The scientific challenge is how to convert the energy of the sun so that everyone can use it for their purpose. Welcome to Delft University of Technology, Solar University of the world. It sounds strange, but we need the energy of the sun to prevent the Earth from getting too warm. Solar energy is essential to help reduce greenhouse gases that are released by using the energy of fossil fuels. Therefore, the first ever universal, legally binding global climate agreement puts PV technology in the spotlight. For some, like 17-year-old scholar Anna, this means an extra motivation and guidance in making the right choice of study. Abdel Rashak from Nigeria knew from the start that he wanted an education in solar energy.
Solar energy is now in Ogun State.
And so he became one of the tens of thousands of students from all over the world who took part in Professor Arno Smets' webinars.
Welcome to the DelftX course Solar Energy. My name is Arno Smets.
And I will be your lecturer for the coming 8 weeks.
In fact, the massive open online courses were decisive in Abdel Rashak's preference for Delft University of Technology. Delft University of Technology is a pioneer and an absolute frontrunner in the field of online academic courses. At the same time, Delft provides students with high-quality education and research here on the campus. By doing so, we keep on surprising the world with higher solar cell performances. Today, a race of man against the sun is on the program. How hard must one pedal to equal solar power? How hard must one study to improve the efficiency of solar cells by an additional %? Professor Miro Zeman's department, focusing on high efficiency and low-cost solar cells, has already reached some record-breaking results.
We have the solution. We offer top quality research and a world-class global modern education in solar energy.
That means that Delft University of Technology offers Abdel Rashak and Anna, motivated as they are, all the possibilities to spread their wings and work on a better utilization of solar energy, and consequently change the world. Because the world needs top engineers to carry out energy transition and transform the energy supply and infrastructure. The world needs sustainable energy to keep this planet livable for future generations.
So here on the poster is the vision of our department about the house of the future. And as you can see, we use all the available area to put solar modules on top of it, on the roof or on the facade.
So let's do some yoga again. Turn your face towards the sun. Join Delft University of Technology, the solar university of the world. Because it's all in there. Yes, it's all in there.
Welcome to the last webinar of the TU Delft MicroMaster Solar Energy Engineering in the year 2018. My name is Arno Smets and I'm a professor in solar energy at Delft University of Technology and will be your host today. Special word of welcome to all students in the courses PV1X up to PV5X in the MicroMaster Solar Energy Engineering and the MOOC Solar Energy. Welcome today. Although it has been dark and cloudy in Delft in the Netherlands today, but I'm still really excited as we have an excellent and sunny program today. First, we have our teams of experts here at the table. My colleagues Olinda Isabella and Laura Ramirez will join me. We will give feedback on the challenges the students have been posting on the various platforms. Michel Tamazians is joining us. He is an MSc thesis student in the Photovoltaic Materials and Devices group here at Delft University of Technology. He will talk about his ideas of storing solar energy in the form of hydrogen. Victor Vega is joining us. Victor is a PhD student in the DC Systems Energy Conversion and Storage group. He will share his ideas on the integration of storage within the solar module itself. And we have today a very special guest. Bertram Pietersen is joining. He is one of the MicroMaster students online and last September started the MSc program Sustainable Energy Technology here at the Delft University of Technology. He has already a long, impressive record in the field of solar energy. He will share his experience and will talk about Solar Energy International. It's an NGO in the US that helps to train solar energy engineers. At the end of the webinar, we will answer more questions of you viewers at home. Please post your questions on the dedicated blog. Thierry will be in the green room and collecting the questions. Talking about Thierry, Thierry is joining us at the table today again. Thierry, welcome. You have collected many questions the last week, which you already posted. So, did you have any interesting questions?
Indeed I have, Arno, with this many PVX courses to choose from at this point, we had a nice variety of questions. But don't worry, I'll start you off easy.
Okay.
So the first question is for you, it's from Jan Wilhelm, and he had a question regarding the pace of the PVX courses. He wants to know what happens if the pace of the training by week is not respected, because like many students, he has a busy schedule, he cannot maintain this week by week schedule, he has limited availability, and sometimes it takes a month to process this 1 week of content.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I can imagine that. So everybody's quite busy. Everybody has his own job or family. He has to study. He or she has to study. So indeed, the content in the course is quite dense, and of course we have chopped it in weeks, and 1 week is more or less 10 hours, maybe for some people it's a little bit more than that, but we have it in the self-paced mode. So it means that if it takes 4 weeks to tackle week 1 or week 2, then you should take the time like that. There is no holy grail of speed in this course. So if you have the time, spend the time of doing that. And if it means that it takes 4 months to finish a course, it takes 4 months. If you can do it in 2 weeks, you can do it in 2 weeks. So that's a nice thing, the flexibility you have with this material. On your own pace, you can do the course.
And the self-paced courses remain online for the foreseeable future?
Yes, so the self-paced courses will be there. Sometimes we will even update it by including new movies, looking at the new technologies, update information on that.
Good to know. So Jean Wilhelm, take your time. And Laura, the next question is for you, because Ruben Munoz is aware of the continuous drop in the battery prices. Mm-hmm. And he would like to know how you think this is going to affect the solar industry in general. Mm-hmm. And he also wants to know if there's a new battery technology that could revolutionize the market, or are we stuck with lithium ion for the foreseeable future?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Well, the thing is, storage is indeed getting cheaper, and that would only be beneficial. So I see that in the coming years, the participation of storage in combination with PV is going to increase. Well, there are, of course, at this moment, research being done. There is research being done. So it's not that we're going to get stuck with this lithium ion. I think that it's going to be a combination. So this lithium ion, of course, is going to decrease. The price is going to decrease. So that will, of course, increase its participation again. But I think that new technologies, like, for example, lithium sulfur, will be part of the whole scene of this storage and PV.
So a variety of battery technologies in the future.
Yes, I think so, yes.
Good. Thank you. Now
Thank
we
you.
got another question from Ruben Munoz, and this one is for you, Lindo, because he thinks that the fluid dynamic model, so this is a model that we introduce in our course and in a solar energy book, he thinks it might be a little bit impractical for regular design, because it requires some data that is in some place in the world that might be hard to find. Now, Ruben has found some other models, such as the Sandia model, the Fairman model, the PV-Syst model. And what he would like to know is if you would be able to recommend some of these models. And in addition, he's unsure if you should use these models, or you should use the module temperature or the cell temperature inside these models.
This is a very interesting question, which I would like to address with very important emphasis. Because we strive to give, in first place, education, technical education. The fluid dynamic model is meant to give the physical framework. It is a type of modeling that ensures that whatever is the mounting configuration, not only over rear, but also for BIPV modules attached to some material that has very important thermal inertia, the fluid dynamic model can still be used and profitably used in a very accurate way. Said so, I can imagine that for some locations on the globe, it might be difficult to retrieve data like the sky temperature or other subject lists that are needed for the fluid dynamic model. First, I would like to say that for the sky temperature, it pretty much depends on the clouds. So as long as there is a large amount of clouds, the temperature of the sky can be already approximated with the ambient temperature, which is something that has been already reported in many meteorological databases. And if the sky is clearer, you can still use I think it's the equation G19 in our solar energy book to convert from ambient temperature to sky temperature. Still, I agree with the learner that it might be impractical if you do not have, for example, possibilities to run differential equations, problem solving with MATLAB or whatever coding scripting language you have. Any of these mentioned models are good as long as there is a verification behind. So it should check first whether this or that model are capable of capturing the reality of that specific location. Because we know that the NOCT model, it was developed for southeast in Asia, and that has a very specific type of climate with respect to the Netherlands, for example. So that is an important thing to look at.
Okay, so you could say try to go for an as accurate model as possible, as long as it's feasible within
exactly
limits. Okay, thank you for that. And we got another question, and this is more related to different PV technologies and how they compare and the progress in different PV technologies. So I don't know if you would like to take this one, because Kuo Nuuk knows that silicon-based PV modules are still the norm, but there's a lot of research going on into different technologies. So do you think silicon will remain the norm, or will it be replaced by different technologies in the long run? And if so, what technology do you think this will be?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question, and that question is fired at us many times. If you look at the product of a glass module, there silicon has done a very good job. Its efficiencies have increased, production has been upscaled. the economy of scale has been helping along, so it's very cheap. It's very cheap and it's a reliable technology. So if you, in terms of glass modules, you will of course have subtle shifts in maybe in technologies in silicon, but silicon will be the most important player on the market now and in the coming decade, certainly to come. You have other technologies being developed. If you look at, for instance, like what is being researched lately, and if you go to the big conferences, what are the researchers looking at? It's an add-on on silicon. So silicon is so cheap and reliable, but we're walking into the efficiency limits there as well. So can we put, for instance, a high band gap material on top of the silicon, tandem cell, and then increase the efficiency further of the silicon? So there you see at the moment two options, gallium arsenide, the 3.5 based top cells, or the perovskites. Challenges there are 3.5s. It's the processing of these devices is still quite expensive, so cheap processing will be there, the hurdle for the introduction into the market, so that needs to be tackled. Perovskites is a very interesting material. It's a relatively new material. High efficiencies have been demonstrated very fast. Problem there is reliability of the material itself. There are certain instabilities under light exposure, thermal instabilities, chemical instabilities like water exposure, which still needs to be tackled before it becomes a real reliable technology. If these are tackled, you will see that as add-ons on crystalline in the modules. But at the moment, I'm not seeing happening that soon.
So even if other technology is doing well, it's more likely they'll be used in combination with crystallized silicon rather than instead of crystallized silicon.
Or you have to look in new concepts, and I think if the product is a glass module, then silicon is doing a pretty good job. Or you have to go to a lightweight flexible product. So then you're going to very thin films, and there you also have a complete different market. So balance of systems might be different because you have already semi-fabricates of products. You can save on labor costs in installing, for instance, PV on sea, on water, but lightweight you have less costs. So there are advantages, and then you're looking at different technologies, but still there I think the base material should be stable, should be resistant against water, and then maybe thin film silicon might also be a good solution there if you compare to for instance organic or potential flexible perovskites. But that is of course research. You never know what's going to happen, so usually we surprise ourselves with all possibilities which are out there.
Yeah, but even for these alternative approaches where different metrics matter, it's more likely that it will become a niche than actually compete with.
Yeah, so bulk volume production glass modules, silicon will be there for the next decades and decades to come. That's my opinion.
Thank you for those insights. And Laura, I've got another question for you.
Sure.
Because Monif Barakat, he says that grid reliability aspects are rarely addressed for PV.
Mm-hmm.
And that the fossil fuels advocates usually use this as a point of weakness for sustainable fuels, for sustainable energies. And that they use this weakness to attack. When he thinks that it would be great if we all start to raise awareness that PV can also be dispatchable and is not necessarily a grid monster. So what do you think about that?
Yes, I actually agree with this comment of this student. I also agree that there should be more awareness in the sense that, okay, it is true there are some challenges that have been posed because of the fact that the sun cannot be controlled. Same thing for wind, right? The wind cannot be controlled, but that doesn't mean that if we use intelligent algorithms that we can, in combination with storage, even provide ancillary services to the grid. And by that I mean even helping with frequency control. So if it is done in a proper way, then PV can definitely help even with this reliability aspects that the student is telling. So I fully agree with the comment. So of course it shouldn't be seen as a great monster. I mean, as I said before, there's some challenges posed, but that doesn't mean that we are not being able to use them in our favor. That's why we do research in those areas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So challenges are not necessarily a bad thing.
No, so definitely not a great monster.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, Olindo, we've got a student, Ahmed Izzeldin, and he is very challenged by soiling losses in Sudan. He says that it can lead to losses up to 20% in their PV systems over there. And he wants to know about the most recent research into the soiling and anti-soiling application.
Yeah, this is a very relevant question, even for places where we have frequent showers, like here in the Netherlands. Even here, soiling is it's an important issue. At this moment, the research is mainly focusing on layers that can be added on top of the normal glass, coming back to the bulk of production that Arno mentioned before. But this type of films are structured with hundreds of nanometer scale features that can give a sort of hydrophobic behavior. Now, it has been shown that when the modules are tilted beyond, let's say, 10, 11 degrees, the gravity itself, when water is poured on it, will make sure that the water will flow by gravity, bringing with it also some sort of dust that has been deposited due to soiling activity of the environment. I would imagine that for Sudan, maybe the rain is not what comes most often. It's mostly dust accumulation, and so in that respect, this type of methods might not be that effective. There is only one thing to do, is to basically keep an eye on how much is the deposition of this type of dust per that location is happening, and with our models that we have taught during the PV systems course, look at how much per day the losses are in terms of energy yield are accumulating, and then make an estimated guess on when and if it's necessary to do the cleaning. Because of course, if you want to clean every day, you have to pay for someone that has to do the job. On the other hand, you can also maybe survive for a couple of days without cleaning them. So it has to be an economic study to find the right trade-off in that respect.
Yeah, so also these practical issues of PV systems, we really have to start looking into them.
Yes.
Well, thank you for that. That was the student questions for now.
Thank you, Thierry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura, for answering these questions. Olindo and Thierry, I see you back at the end of the webinar, and then we look into the questions which the students are posting right now or during the webinar.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So now we will watch a small animation, and this animation is the introduction to our next guest, and you might recognize this from week 6 of the Solar Energy MOOC. It's a nice introduction for our next guests. So joining at the table are Michel, Victor and Bertram. Welcome, and it's a pleasure having you here. Michel, you are an MSc thesis student in our photovoltaic devices and materials group. Can you tell us something about your background? You're doing now Sustainable Energy Technology Masters, but what have you been doing up to that point?
Well, I know I've been doing the Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering here at the TU Delft,
And then I was actually quite focused and interested in sustainable energy. That's where I started a Sustainable Energy Master. And then I did an internship in Uganda, where I have been designing actually a standalone system. And that's where really my interest in the solar energy was developed, or I was more keen on solar energy. That's where I came to the PVMD department.
That must have been a great experience, Uganda.
It has been a really nice experience.
But now you're doing a master's thesis project at Delft University, and your topic is the conversion of solar energy into a chemical energy carrier, and that is hydrogen.
Yeah.
So why do we need to convert solar energy into hydrogen?
Well, actually, that's the easy answer is actually we have the seasonal fluctuations, which we can partly for daily demands we can solve that by batteries, but it's mostly in the winter and in the autumn that the problem arises where batteries can't suffice for that fluctuation, and that's where I think hydrogen can be a good solution. And for that we have yes, exactly. This is the main components that you can see, where you will use a solar panel, water, gas tank, electrolyzer, fuel cell, battery, and a charge controller.
So these are the components, because a normal PV system, it's panel, battery, inverter and stuff like that. So this system becomes far more complex.
Yeah,
so how do these components interact?
Actually, we can see that with the next picture. As you can see, you're the consumer in this scenario.
Okay.
You can keep the edX courses going. As you can see, we have a solar panel which delivers the power to the MPPT charge controller, which we all know. Then you have three energy paths. One is going to directly to the load consumer. Second one is to the battery for the short-term storage, and thirdly, electricity going to the electrolyzer, which together with the water will produce hydrogen, which will be stored. And then in times of in the winter, where there's not enough solar energy, we'll use both the battery and also the fuel cell to provide the energy for the load consumer. In this way, I think this is going to be, at least at the moment, one of the best solutions to account for the seasonal fluctuations.
So it means making a system like that, it also requires some intelligence. So there are, the system has to make the decision, when do I provide directly the load to the demand, and when should I store the battery, when should I produce hydrogen?
Yeah, true, and that's where it makes the thesis life kind of difficult. That's where you have to find, because as you said, it's quite easy, but the question is, when is the optimal sizing and the optimal energy path to decide when to deliver the load directly or store it first. And maybe a good thing is to look at, I have a short movie about the electrolyzer.
Yeah, indeed the electrolyzer, because like in our online courses we discuss many of these components, but the electrolyzer, I don't think we discuss it in any of our courses.
No, that's...
So but you brought a video.
I brought a short video.
So
you can see here there's the power supply, there's the test setup. Here you see the brain of the system. You see the DC-DC converter to convert the voltage of the panel to the electrolyzer. You see a pump for the water flow, and here this is the electrolyzer where the water comes in plus the electricity to produce hydrogen and oxygen.
Can you prove? Oh, there. Yeah.
And you see the bubbles, as we all read in high school. The bubbles, that's the hydrogen produced.
So you were flowing the hydrogen into the room.
Yeah, just kind of. But
okay.
I'm not a smoker. I'm not a smoker, so it should be safe.
Okay. Okay. So that's a nice challenge, and so you think that after your thesis all problems are solved, or do you think that we still have to look into some of these issues?
Well, I unfortunately I can't say it's going to be solved, but I hope I can help to at least have a good thinking about how the energy flow has to be met. And hopefully in the future we can see all these fuel stations where it's mostly hydrogen cars.
Okay.
But we keep working on the thesis and we'll see how far we can get.
Okay. Thank you, Michel.
Thanks.
Talking about storage, like this is the very far future storage. Talking about storage, Victor, you are working on a different type of storage. It's just the storage of batteries. But first, yes. Victor, can you tell something about yourself? You're a PhD student in the DC Systems Energy Conversion Storage Group here at the Delft University of Technology. Yes. But how did you end up here?
Yeah, so I'm from Costa Rica. That's important. So I was starting my career as a lecturer in the university there in Costa Rica. But I study material science first in the Costa Rica Institute of Technology, and then I moved. I contacted Professor Laura, which was here, and she was helping me find a suitable topic for me, because I really wanted to spend more time on renewable energy and in particular solar energy, which I think are pretty promising.
Yeah. So you working on storage. So like in our courses we discuss storage. There are usually the components panels. We have the panels, and yes. We have then if it's autonomous, a battery to be stored. So where do we usually locate the battery?
Yeah. So normally the batteries are a component which is pretty bulky, let's say, and needs a lot of space, and is normally placed inside of the house, or what depends on where your application is, but it's normally placed in a specific place where you need a lot of space. Also the power electronics, which is another important component. Yeah. So,
but you have a different idea.
Of course. Yeah.
And so what is this idea?
So this idea is about integrating all the different parts of a PV battery system in one component. Yes. So yeah, as you were mentioning, you have all of these components in a separate manner, and then you have problems in terms of that is space consuming. You need a lot of space for the batteries. You also have a low level of integration. That means different components that you have to design, you have to size based on technical particularities, and then therefore that has an impact on the installation and cost at the end, because we are seeing now that the price of the PV modules are decreasing pretty fast, but the balance of system components are now playing a bigger role in the total system, in the total cost of the system. So this is why we have this idea of integrating all of the parts of solar PV solar storage systems in one device. So here you can see the PV panel, and at the back of this PV panel you will have a battery pack with many batteries placed there, and also the power electronics. So in this way you can directly connect the load and charge and discharge the battery in an intelligent manner.
So it's really becoming a solar battery.
Something like that. Actually, this is a concept that has been explored, but as in a small scale. Yeah. So now we are trying to develop it for higher power, let's say, for a normal solar panel of 300 watt.
It's quite funny, because like in the 50s, when at Bell Labs the first solar cells, crystalline silicon, were being invented, created, they were more or less presenting that like solar batteries. So like 60 years later, basically it's the concept which was being advertised already 50, 60 years ago. It's funny to see. But of course this is a nice drawing, but this afternoon you also we shot a video where you're holding the real device and explaining it.
Yes.
So Jan, can we see this video?
My topic is about integration of solar energy and energy storage, and in particular here we have the prototype that integrates a solar panel, batteries, and a charge controller or power electronics in one device. This device is connected to the PV panel, to the battery pack that you see here, and to a load, which is in our research a constant load for the moment. One of the main challenges of this integration is the high temperature that the batteries must handle when you place them directly at the back of the solar panel. So this is one of the main parts we are testing now in our lab. So here we are seeing the testing of pouch lithium-ion batteries that are being testing at 46.4 degrees. These batteries we expect to be better in terms of performance when they are integrated at the back of a solar panel.
Very nice, but of course, integrating like a PV and battery in one whole device, I can imagine there are some challenges. So what are the challenges you're facing at the moment?
There are always challenges, and especially if you're doing a PhD. This is the reason, right? So in this case, one of the main challenges is that you have some constraints. One of them is the space. Of course, you don't have infinite space, so you can just place a certain amount of batteries at the back of the solar panel. So the sizing of the system, which is related to the application, for instance, is really important. Second part, which you might wonder, is about the thermal management, because here you have batteries pretty close to the solar panel, and that means, well, we know that the temperature of the solar panels is pretty high in operation, can reach 80 degrees even. So when you place the batteries next to the PV panel, that means higher temperatures for the batteries. So one of the main challenges is how to manage this heat, not to be completely transferred to the batteries, but somehow reduce that temperature. And the next question would be about the aging of the batteries. How much would they age compared to a normal case where you have these batteries in a separate manner? So this is something we are doing now. As I show in the video, we are testing the batteries at high temperatures at 47, which is like the worst conditions that the battery must handle in this kind of application that we have found after doing the testing in the PV lab.
Okay, very nice, very nice. So when do we see this on the market, do you think?
That's a pretty interesting question. I won't be able to tell, but I'm certainly think that this is a natural idea of combining both technologies. You said that this has been there for so many years, and I think now it's becoming more and more viable. I think this is why we are studying this topic.
So what is the performance of this demonstrator?
We think that in total, for instance, from PV to storage, PV is producing this PV panel we have. There is about 15%. But it decreases a bit more because of the high temperatures. So it's about 12% the PV production, and the storage is about what you lose is like 2-3% of that energy. So it will be 10% or a bit higher.
So,
but it depends also on the PV panel. This is not like the most fancy one.
So how many years to go still in the PhD?
Hopefully I'll be finishing soon.
Soon? Yeah. What is soon? How soon?
I expect to be defending next year, in the middle of next year.
Okay. Then good luck with finalizing your PhD in writing. And
thank you.
And now we have a very special guest, Bertram Petersen. He is an online MicroMaster student, and last September he has started as a student in the Master's Program of Sustainable Energy Technology here at Delft University of Technology. And so Bertram, you have already a long record in the field of solar energy. So please tell us, where are you from and what have you been doing so far before here arriving in Delft?
Absolutely. Thanks, Arno. I'm from Mexico, and I started learning about solar energy about 5 years ago during your first online course, which essentially helped me get my first job back in the industry.
So I'm guilty.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then, I spent a couple of years working in the industry as a PV engineer, and perhaps we can show a couple of slides from the... Thank you. Yeah. From the projects I worked on, this is a commercial PV system we've been developing back home in Mexico. We're estimating that maybe we can fit about 600 kilowatts DC of solar panels at this roof. And I learned this with what I learned in the MicroMasters. This is a 3D view of that same roof, and there you can see the shading issues you get depending on the roof tilt availability and height.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So where is this? On which building?
Oh, that is for an airport back in Mexico.
And how large is the total system?
We're estimating that we can fit about 600 kilowatts.
Oh, that's quite impressive.
It's
quite
big,
impressive,
yeah.
So now you're a MicroMaster, have been a MicroMaster student studying online. Now you're on campus, studying on campus, so that must be different. I guess studying online is more challenging, or what's your experience?
I wouldn't describe it as more challenging. Perhaps the word I would use is more flexible, in the sense that, say you get out of work or school, and you only have like 15 minutes or half an hour to do whatever you want to do in the afternoon. That's plenty of time to work on the MicroMasters or whatever you're learning online. So that's just enough time to work on your quiz or on the lectures or on the video, and that bite-size kind of learning goes a long way.
So flexibility.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you have hands-on experience. Like, do you have other examples?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I also spent a couple of weeks in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria wreaked havoc on their grid. I was there volunteering with another nonprofit called Water Mission, and we were installing solar for water pumps. So the problem there wasn't that they had issues with their pumping system. The issue was that they simply had no electricity. So the utility was going to take between 12 and 18 months to get power back running, which doesn't make much sense comparing when you compare it to maybe half a month or a month that it takes you to get a PV system up and running there in the tank.
Yeah. Then you see indeed the power of an autonomous PV system.
Precisely, yeah. This really shows you the beauty of solar.
Yeah. So you have hand-on experience, but now you're studying on campus. That's more the academic approach. So what do you prefer?
I actually enjoy being right in the middle. Just the right amount of balance between academics and hands-on training, which is why I just see myself like a link between industry and academics.
But next to all these activities, you're also an instructor at the Solar Energy International. Can you tell a little bit more about that? So what is the Solar Energy International?
Of course. SEI, Solar Energy International, is a non-governmental organization that was founded in 1991 in the US. And our mission is to provide industry-leading technical training to empower people, businesses, and communities worldwide. So far, we've been able to train over 65,000 people from almost 150 nationalities. So yeah, I also brought a couple of slides about what we do.
And you brought a video or not?
Correct. Maybe we can show it right now?
Yeah. Let's watch the video.
I say quickly SEI. The I stands for international, and the amount of international work and experience that our instructors have, we have instructors who've worked all over the world.
SEI Student Services is such a key aspect of what we do. We have students coming from all over the world, and if they have questions or even fears about coming to a foreign place, we always help them out a lot. For students who don't speak the language, we try to help them a lot with feeling comfortable, with feeling safe.
I learned 15 years ago about how open and welcoming SEI was to people from all over the world. Just the diversity of students and teachers.
Paonia in particular is a very safe place. It's beautiful to be here and live very mellow.
So Solar Energy International, so you're an instructor.
That is correct. So that's pretty much what we do. We give hands-on training for people who want to learn how to wire a panel or mount an inverter or how to ground a system.
You have some examples?
Yeah, we have 3 campuses, one in Colorado in the US, and this year we just opened up 2 other campuses in Costa Rica and Oman. And you can see here how we teach people to mount the system, commission an inverter, perhaps install a set of microinverters here, install a panel, ground the system so people don't get electrocuted or shocked, or just to avoid the fire hazard.
Very important.
Because after all, you are working with electricity.
Exactly. Yeah.
We can work with even ground mounts or roof mounts, or But this is pretty much what we do.
Okay, so you're quite a busy guy in the field of solar energy. So, but now you're doing your master thesis here. What are your ambitions?
Well, as I mentioned, I really like to be right in the middle between academics and the industry. So I see myself working out there in the field, designing, installing, commissioning PV systems, but at the same time, spreading the word, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Bertrand. Thank you for sharing. Also, Michel and Victor, thank you very much for sharing your research with us. It has been 5 years ago that we have started the MOOC Solar Energy Online, so time is flying if you have fun. After the first edition, 4 years ago, we have invited the best 4 students to come to Delft and join a workshop here. And then when they were visiting, I interviewed them and they gave their opinion. And let's watch what they were telling us 4 years ago.
Okay, I'm Visarat Rizal from Nepal, the land of the Himalayas.
My name is Guillermo Castillo. I'm from Ecuador.
Hi, my name is Nhan Nte. I'm from Myanmar.
My name is Yasma Kali and I'm from Algeria.
I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Kathmandu.
I'm studying at the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering.
Right now I am studying at the National Polytechnic School in Quito, Ecuador.
I've already got the Bachelor's of Marine Engineering degree from Myanmar Maritime University.
Nepal has a lot of renewable energy sources that can be harvested, but it hasn't been done yet, so solar energy is one of the most feasible to do it.
And then I started thinking about if we have that much sun, and we can actually get electricity from that sun, so why aren't we making use of that, especially in my country, Algeria?
So that I can share my knowledge, and also we can promote using PV technology in Myanmar, because Myanmar is still a developing country and we don't have enough power.
I know that it is a very good option, it is very sustainable, and you can do whatever you want with this kind of energy.
We don't have electricity, that's why I want to fill the gap with clean energy, which is solar energy.
If maybe I get some knowledge on that and I get some skills, I can make some change.
So that was the first solar energy course that was offered through edX.
It was so amazing. So it was international, is multinational. About 57,000 students all over the world are taking the course at the same time.
And I think this professor, it seems like be very nice. Let's see what can I learn from him. And actually, later when I took the classes, when I saw the videos, I was really impressed.
You are in a very big class, you are in a very big library, you have lots of learning material, you can interact with people online.
So I thought, okay, let's try it and let's see how solar energy feels like, what it feels like, and it was really good actually.
And we also are fighting on the discussion forum by discussing, we have very fun. Actually, we are very fun. We are finding the solution, whose one is correct or not. It's so funny. And
I would say that if you like solar energy, if you are interested, if you have some questions, if you wish to learn more about this field, it's certainly a very good course to take. It answers so many questions.
This is your energy and our energy future.
Unbelievable, this was already 4 years ago. Time flies. Thierry is back, Olindo is back, Victor is still joining us also to answer some questions. Thierry, do we have some interesting questions on the platform?
We got our faithful, stable viewer base watching our webinar. And they posed some interesting questions. The first one is from Jan. He has a question about so-called optimizers are installed on individual PV panels to compensate for shadow effects. And they cause heavy radio frequency disturbance up to 30 megahertz. And Olindo, he wants to know, are there better solutions available than these optimizers?
Yeah, the first thing is to probably try to buy brands that have very good electromagnetic interference isolation. In general, as long as you have H bridges with switching active circuits, you have always some of these high frequency harmonics that are going on in either in the cables by conduction or just being radiated out from the circuit, just if you pass by with a receiver next to your PV panel. First option is for sure pay a little bit probably more at installation phase, like a CapEx, to invest more on better electronics, because there are brands and brands, unfortunately. And at the same time also you can also look at solutions on for example installing certain appliances that might be disturbed, like the satellite receiver or television antennas on a slightly different circuit, in order to have a physical decoupling of the PV system from the utilization. And this can be done with the help of expert electricians and so on. So yeah, in this respect, I would say that the most important thing is to just focus on brands that can offer very low electromagnetic interference right from the specs.
Okay, so just to clarify, this interference, it's interference with other power electronics in your neighborhood that might be the challenge.
It can go anywhere from interferences on again televisions or radios, but it can also be even heard like chirping sounds. So the spectrum of these interferences can be quite diverse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then we had another question from Alves Fidel, and Alves Fidel was inspired by the research that he saw earlier in this webinar about the hydrogen storage research. So Arnold, if you could take this question. He says that it seems to be very promising for storage of electricity and to allow a larger capacity for larger periods of time. He just wants to know a little bit more clearly how this process exactly works, and do we spend any time on it in our courses?
Yeah. So at the moment, the conversion of solar energy into hydrogen has not been upscaled. To my opinion, we have the technologies, we have the efficiency, but it needs upscaling. Similar trends you see now in batteries, the cost price is going down very quickly. Of course, there are a lot of batteries being produced because we need them for the electric cars. In production of hydrogen, we don't see any movement yet, because of course the first 1 megawatt system is very expensive. So you have to go to the gigawatt, the terawatt level to make it cheap. So there needs to be first an investment with that. Other challenges, of course, hydrogen is the smallest molecule which we have, and so storing that has also its challenges. So it means that if we have the gas tubes and stuff like that, they need to have different properties than, for instance, the gas tubes we use for methane, like we have a big infrastructure in the Netherlands. So there are challenges, but there are also challenges in storing the hydrogen. You can do that at high pressure tanks, but you also have materials in which absorb the hydrogen, and then you need energy again to get the hydrogen out. And this still is in development and needs to be scaled up. But all these, it needs investment, and demonstrators go from the megawatt to the gigawatt to the terawatt.
Do we spend some time on this in our process?
Yes, we address some of these issues In the solar energy MOOC, we do that in week 6. And in PV2X, PV technology, we have in week 8, we are addressing also solar thermal, but we also look into the like the conversion solar fuels. Because of course hydrogen is one product, but you can also think, even if you have produced hydrogen, to let that react with carbon dioxide to make carbohydrates like methane or maybe an ethanol. So a lot of concept possible, which is the holy grail. Yeah, we have to see in upscaling of these technologies.
Sounds like some very interesting research, the solar fields.
Yeah. To be continued.
Then I've got a second question for you, Lindo.
Yes.
It's from Jacques New, and he heard that the grid-connected systems can be used at times when there is a power shutdown. Is there any way that they can be used at both times, so the time when the main grid is off and also when the main grid is on?
Yes, with the typical inverters, this is, let's say, the grid-connected inverters. This is something that is being regarded as a very important safety issue. If for any reasons the grid fails, you don't want to have workers that are fixing the grid in the neighborhood of a PV system to actually enter in contact with the high voltage coming from maybe a house or a power plant, because the inverter is still keep on going. So this is the phenomenon called islanding. You would like to isolate the PV system as long as there is no signal anymore from the grid. So this is what already happens as a let's say safety measure in the normal inverters. They sense the signal from the grid. If there is no such a signal, then the whole circuit is at a halt, and then there is the restoration of the signal when the grid is up again. However, there are of course different models of inverters that can be deployed that are more we can call them hybrid inverters that have a double interface, that have at one hand the AC part to provide with energy to the AC loads at the premises, and then there is also another interface that interacts with the grid, and these two things can in general be used in a decoupled mode. So these are newer inverters, and it really depends, you know, on the location of the installation, whether you know that the grid is stable or not.
Yeah, sounds like a smart system. Okay, thank you for that. Now we got a question for you, Victor. Some of our students, it was the same actually as Chuck. We recently heard that for long lines, DC current is more economical and with less losses than conducting it in AC. So he wants to know, is this actually true? And he is asking it with reference to PV systems at a larger distance from the loads.
Yeah, indeed, there are many benefits related to transmission, particularly where you can see a big gain on, you will have less losses while transmitting energy in DC. That's been proven, that's a known concept, let's say, that can be implemented. However, the field of DC is still challenging. There are so many other issues that have to be solved, but it's really a promising. It's really promising if you move from the AC grid to the DC grid. The problem is that now we are in a system that is basically based on AC and alternative current, and it's difficult to change the system itself to replace it to a DC from scratch. So one of the alternatives is to try to introduce DC, for instance, DC appliances that can use directly the energy from the PV, which is generated in DC, or the batteries, which is also stored and can be delivered in DC. So this kind of solutions can be used.
Okay, so in your opinion, if you would be able to build a new like standalone system in which the PV generation is removed from where you actually need it, then a DC system might be a good idea.
Yeah, also in systems where you have the PV close to the loads. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Now we got our final question from our students, and Orlindo, I would like to ask this question to you. A student is installing a 500 kilowatts system at their campus. The campus is the GIK Institute, Topi, Pakistan. They would like to ask you, as a professor here, what research equipment and areas can be integrated at the time of erection for the future usage? most of the time already installed PV systems cannot be modified for research. So as they are building the system now, what should they look into?
I have to say I'm so jealous because it's always nice to participate to the design phase of a very large plant. 0.5 megawatt, it's really an interesting installation peak power. I don't know how much area these people have in their campus, but I would imagine that it's going to be a pretty large installation with different sites. So my suggestion in the very first place would be to have a network of pyranometers alongside with a couple of cloud sensors to see how the cloud would move across maybe 1 or 2 hectares of campus. I don't know how big it is. But then it would be also nice to have, for example, a spectrophotometer that can resolve spectrally the irradiance falling on the plane of the array or maybe on the horizontal plane. These are really the, I would say, entry-level sensors that you would like to have in order to measure the diffuse and the direct component of sunlight that would make the bulk of input power for the irradiance on the plane of the array. It would be nice to have also an albedo meter to verify in different locations how much would be the albedo component, maybe if there are many metallic parts that can reflect light, or maybe specific materials that are around that can reflect light. So I would imagine that this is something to look into. For sure, to have a couple of battery banks to also stimulate a little bit, at least one part of this PV plant, whose energy can be stored and maybe used in the future for electric vehicles research. That could be already a nice add-on. But of course, yeah, the ceiling is just the fantasy and the budget. So it would be nice to have as much budget as possible to install many things over there.
Always the budget.
Yes.
Well, with that, I would like to thank you, professors, to answer the questions from our students.
Okay, these were very good questions. So we have arrived at the end of this webinar. First, I would like to thank Olindo, Victor, Thierry, Laura, Michel and Bertrand for joining us. Also, I would like to thank the fantastic colleagues here at the New Media Center here in Delft who are organizing all these very nice technologies, and that you can see us here live at the moment. And thanks you at home for watching this webinar today. This has been the last webinar in 2018. And next year we will continue. Olindo, you will be back next year?
I will be surely back next year.
Victor, you will be back as doctor?
I hope so.
Yeah. Thierry, you will be back?
Just try to get rid of me.
Okay. Then we have decided we will continue this series next year as well. So I wish everybody in our courses, whether it's the MicroMaster Solar Energy Engineering or it's the Solar Energy MOOC, I wish you a nice learning experience. So happy holidays for December and a happy new year, and see you back next year, and don't forget to let the sun shine.